In today's episode, during listener Q&A, Daniel and I answer a decorating question fresh from the archives.
And later, we'll share part 2 of our interview with preservation legend, Mr. Bob Yapp.
But first, I'm Stacy Grinsfelder.
And I'm Daniel Cantor.
This is True Tales from Old Houses, episode 98. Hi, Daniel.
Hey, Stacy, how are you?
Oh, good. I'm just still on a little bit of an excitement high from talking to Bob Yapp.
I know. That was so cool.
He's such an interesting person, and I feel like I just want to talk to him for hours and hours.
Yeah, I think it was very hard to cut ourselves off at like an hour, but man, he's fascinating and just really fun to talk to. Such a nice guy.
Definitely. And we will get to that. But before we launch into today's episode, I do want to thank our season 9 sponsors, the Craftsman Store, Sutherland Wells, Preservan, and Abatron. I say this every episode because it's true. We are so grateful to our sponsors.
Absolutely. Please support them like they support us. They're all amazing companies.
Well, I do have a few announcements.
Hit me.
The first announcement I have is about the Missouri Preservation Conference. That is this week. It's the 7th through the 9th, and it is too late for online registration, but they are taking on-site and in-person registrations during the conference. And I hope that you can be there. Again, that's in Joplin, Missouri, this week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, June 7th through 9th.
So exciting.
The other thing going on is that we do have 4 giveaways to celebrate our 100th episode. And those giveaways are 1 free enrollment in the window course from Scott Seidler of the Craftsman blog. We have a woodworker sample kit from Sutherland Wells, a liquid wood and wood epox restoration kit from Abatron, and Daniel and I are chipping in a True Tales from Old Houses hoodie or short sleeve t-shirt of your choice. And those giveaways are on the website. You can enter 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever you choose, at truetalesfromoldhouses.com/giveaway. And we're excited. We're going to announce those winners during the 100th episode in July.
Ooh, how exciting. Yeah, Go get that free stuff. Stacy worked very hard to make it happen for you. I did absolutely nothing.
And speaking of that 100th episode, Daniel and I will be revisiting guests from past shows. So if you have someone in particular that you would like us to circle back around for that episode, let us know. We can get an update from them. And you can let us know on social media or through the contact page on the True Tales from Old Houses website.
I'm so excited to talk to these people.
Me too. You and I each picked our favorite. Or I guess I shouldn't say, we shouldn't play favorites, but we each picked a person that we were very interested in talking to again. And we'll keep that a little secret, but we'll announce that on that episode in July. That's July.
So hopefully you know by now, but if not, we'll just keep saying it. Stacy and I started doing mini-sodes. So every other week, alternating with the full episodes, we're just kind of doing... What are we doing? Like a 20 to 30 minute, basically hangout sesh. Just hang out with us.
We always say it's 20 to 30, but it's always 30. It's always 30.
Right. We aspire to 20, but who cares? So yeah, join us over on the mini-sodes. I think they're sure fun to record. And of course, if you have any feedback or things that we should be talking about or you really want to hear us talk about, just let us know. In addition, we would always love and appreciate if you would take the time to leave a rating and a review of this podcast on your favorite podcasting app of choice. It boosts us in the rankings, helps people find it, and know that it's worth a listen.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. I think that's all the announcements we have. I feel like they keep getting longer. We have more and more to tell people. But I guess that's a good thing, right? We have things that we want our listeners to know, things that will benefit them. It's not a bad thing to have a lot of announcements.
Exactly. We're busy and therefore full of news.
What else have you been up to then? This is usually where we talk a little bit about what we've been doing. So do you want to start?
Well, like I kind of keep saying, I feel like a broken record. It's been a lot of back and forth recently to Brad's lake house to try to finish that up for the summer. So hopefully we can actually enjoy it this summer instead of just working on it all the time. So I'm actually leaving in, I don't know, an hour and a half to go head up there, the 5-hour drive I'm not at all tired of doing.
What point are you at in this? I feel like there's kind of a snowball thing happening now, right? Like you're getting to the point where it's close. You're getting close.
We are very much in kind of punch list mode. So certain renovation-y things like paint touch-ups and installing outlet covers and, all of those little tiny tasks. And then also furnishing and decorating, which is something Brad and I haven't really done together. So it'll be interesting to see how much we agree or not. But he has very good taste. And of course, it is his house. So unconcerned.
How do you think it's going to go? I guess you just said you're unconcerned. Do you think you'll be able to figure it out?
I think we'll figure it out just fine. I mean, we've been accumulating things. It's been right about a year since he bought the house. So, we've been accumulating things during that time. And a lot of the big furniture, like all of the big furniture pieces are sort of squared away. And then one kind of nice thing about our current distance situation is that he has his own Facebook Marketplace region and I have my own. So we've gotten to pull from both. So I keep buying things and transporting them up. I bought this really beautiful rocking chair, which actually was kind of a funny story. Can I tell you real fast?
Yeah, go for it.
I thought it was funny. So I show up to buy this rocking chair and I get there and I pull in the driveway and this woman is like, "We've met before." And I'm like, "We have met before." So like a year and a half ago, completely randomly, I bought a bed frame from her. And so she had this rocking chair. It was in the same barn that the bed frame was in. And she was super sweet and really excited that somebody was going to buy it that appreciates it. It has this really cute like stencil work. It's very, very sweet. And she told me her mom did the stenciling and it was hard for her to let it go. Then they're such characters. They're like around my parents' age. And so we're standing there kind of talking and the guy's like, "Your headlights are really foggy." And I'm like, "My truck is from 2005. So I'm like, "Yeah, I know." And he's like, "You got to fix that." And I'm like, "Oh, I know. Haha." And then he's like, "Hold on a minute." So the man has just gotten his knee replaced. So he's like not walking super well, but like gets up, hobbles into the house, comes out with this something to restore the headlight and then like makes me do it right there. So I end up being there for over an hour. By the time I leave, we're all hugging. Like it was hilarious. And anyway, so I have this beautiful rocking chair that I'm bringing up and
your headlights are not foggy and you learned a new skill.
So clear as crystal, Stacy.
Well, I would say all those people disparaging Facebook Marketplace, they did not have your experience.
No, I mean, it's nice. Just be nice if the person ever responds. But, when you get there, just be a nice person.
That is a good story.
I know you're in Missouri right now, but what have you been working on back at the ranch?
Well, when I left, I had just finished sanding all the window jambs and the baseboards in the guest room because hopefully while I'm here in Missouri, my son is moving over into the guest room and then I can start the other small maintenance tasks in the bedroom he's been sleeping in for the last few years. It's all connected. I've talked about these projects. They're like, why am I doing this when my staircase is in pieces? But it's a game of chess. I'm playing a game of chess right now, scooting every project, scooting every person in my house in a new place so that I could work on other areas. I had to get rid of all the lead paint. That was the worst room in the house because it had lead paint just really chipping off baseboards, chipping off the window jambs. I removed the windows. Those will be restored later, but I wanted to at least get all that lead paint encapsulated and removed to some degree before anybody moved back into that room.
Smart.
It's nice to get done. Yeah, it's nice to get to that point in the project anyway. But other than that, that was kind of the rush. I was just right before I left practicing my speech, working in that guest bedroom. And now I'm just at my mom's and doing a few things here and there for her as she needs it. Her house is from the 90s. It's a very different, 1990s. It's a very different experience and kind of nice to come and have everything working all the time.
Isn't that the best?
I feel spoiled.
Yeah. My parents live in a new construction condo and it's like you're in a spaceship. It's all climate controlled. When a window is closed, you can't hear anything outside. It's all the kitchen drawers open. Isn't it? Yeah.
I love living in my house, but it does feel like a nice little vacation when I go to my mother's.
I completely get it. Are you like me in that when you go home, there's always like a honey-do list?
It's funny. My mom tried really hard not to do that to me because her mother-in-law and her parents, they always did that. My parents, every time they went, they had a list for them. And so she really didn't want to do that to me. But I kind of like doing that kind of stuff. And the alternative is that we just sit around staring at each other. And I figure it's better for me to have a list of things that she wants me to do. And then we spend time together and we talk and we have a great time. But then I can also get that out of my system, that I have to move and I have to do things out of my system. And then I feel very useful for my mother too. And I like that. I like doing things for her.
I think my mom does it because if she doesn't, then I'll just invent my own project, which is usually like, we're going to clean out this closet. And so in order to avoid that, I have actual tasks I'm meant to achieve when I'm there. But it's nice to feel useful.
I think so too. And there's a certain turning point in adulthood where you actually want to do those things. I used to visit and I had all my kids with me, and the thought of doing one more thing besides trying to take care of them in a place that wasn't their home was just too much, and I was busy. I was still getting them fed and we were entertaining them and getting them to play outside and all that stuff. But now that it's just me as an adult, it's nice. I like having things to do when I go there.
Mm-hmm. I like it too because usually the tasks are very simple, but nobody in my family is all that handy. So they all think I'm like a wizard when I can, do little stuff.
That's what I did some caulking, I think, around the sink. And my mom was like, oh my goodness, this looks so good. The appreciation that she pays me for doing these tasks that I think are easy, but for her, they just look so hard. Like, how could you ever do that? And that's a really good feeling.
Last time I was home, my parents' kitchen sink faucet had lost so much pressure that it literally took like 10 minutes to fill a pot. And they were just like, I don't know, I guess we need a new faucet. I'm like, have you checked the filter? They're like, how would you possibly? And in about 30 seconds, I had fixed the issue. And they just were like the awe and wonder.
That's neat. All right. Well, we do need to take a quick break. You ready?
I love the breaks. Let's go.
Me too. Listener Q&A is up next. True Tales from Old Houses is supported by The Craftsman Store, another excellent resource from Scott Seidler of The Craftsman blog. The Craftsman Store is your go-to place for old house tools and supplies.
Once again, our buddy Scott has taken the hassle out of tracking down all those specialized old house supplies that we need and put them all in one convenient place for us. The Craftsman Store is a cozy little online hardware store full of books, tools, replacement parts, and more.
I have this little glazing point driver tool, and the diamond glazing points, the size I need, tend to be really difficult to find. So I always buy those from the Craftsman Store, and then I add a few extra window restoration supplies because Scott does run a top-notch small business. His customer service is an actual human, and I think they ship really fast, just as fast as other online retailers.
From window restoration to plaster repair, they have absolutely everything you need to do the job just like a pro. So check it out today at thecraftsmanstore.com and save 10% on your orders if you use the code TRUETALES.
True Tales from Old Houses is also supported by Preservan, a unique preservation franchise opportunity developed by longtime window restoration pro Ty McBride. The mission of Preservan is to save the future by preserving the past.
Stacy, you've told us before, but tell us again, what exactly is Preservan?
Well, Preservan is a franchise that you can purchase for wood rot repair in buildings old and new. Ty started Preservan in Oklahoma, and now you can open your own Preservan franchise anywhere in the U.S. And as a franchise owner, the team at Preservan will train and equip you with the tools you need to perform sustainable wood rot repairs and build your own team of epoxy techs.
Now, I understand that you will receive as part of this the playbook for a proven preservation business, exclusive access to Ever-Resin epoxy products, and business software and all of the marketing, advertising, training, and technical support you need to be successful.
That's right. The Preservan family is focused on creating work-life balance while serving neighbors and community in a recession-proof industry. Those are values that Ty holds dear, and he wants you to be able to work your own hours and spend the rest of the time in ways that are important to you.
To learn more about becoming a part of the Preservan family and their mission, go to Preservan Franchise. That's Preservan, preservanfranchise.com/true tales.
We're back, and it's time for listener Q&A.
What's our big question today, Stacy?
Today's question is from the archives, and it comes from Richard. And he asked, how do you furnish your home and with what type of antiques? I thought this question was timely. Sometimes I go back in the archives and I look for questions that we haven't answered before. And I chose this one specifically because that's actually the stage that you and Brad are in. You're currently working hard, doing that very thing at the Silver Lake cottage. And I thought perhaps we would have some input on that. How do you furnish your home and with what type of antiques? You want to start?
Oh boy, I guess I'll start. My feeling is it should basically follow what you like, your personal taste, and the house. So I personally am not really a fan of time capsule decorating. And part of that is, I think, because houses didn't really historically look that way. Like everything was new and old at some point. So your Victorian house would have had furniture in it, presumably from pre-Victorian times, and not everything was sort of bought at the exact same moment.
I agree with you on time capsule decorating. It's also not my thing, although some people really like that. And I think I enjoy seeing that in somebody else's home, that commitment to that time period, but it's not something that I personally feel comfortable with in my own home.
Yeah, I find it a little limiting, and it sort of would exclude all of the things that I already own and like. And so I think you and I are very similar this way. We will mix all kinds of eras, and most of our stuff is previously loved, let's say, and a lot of it has a story. So I have a lot of stuff from my grandparents on both sides, mostly my dad's side. They had a crazy mid-century house, all this nutso mid-century furniture and art, and I love it in my 1865 Greek revival. So I guess what I try to do is, because I also love antiques, so I'll try to build in just a mix. And I don't know, you sort of know when that balance feels right. So I have very few new pieces of furniture, but a lot of like post-war pieces of furniture, and then some early primitive kind of Hudson Valley stuff. And I think the essential thing I try to bear in mind is I'm really concerned about doing right by the house and very unconcerned with furniture and decor, because that is easy to change. So my goal has always kind of been, if somebody really wanted that time capsule house, all they'd have to do is move in, put up different light fixtures, maybe slap some wallpaper on the walls and different furniture, and you have yourself a very well-restored 1865 Greek revival. But that's just never going to be my style.
Yeah, I think we are very similar. This house was built as a summer house, and it was very much built for, at the time, in the summer, indoor-outdoor living. And I think about that a lot. So I'm a real sucker for any nature-based antiques. So if I'm going to go for antiques at all, I'm looking for something with flowers or birds or something that is nature related, botanical things. I really like having a little bit of that. Now, too much, and then I start to feel like an old lady. I look around and sometimes I say, is this too old lady or is this good? So there's a balance there where if you get everything that has flowers and roses on it, plus Annie doesn't really like that kind of stuff. So I can get away with some, but I'm not going to fill our house with needlepoint but I do like a little bit of that.
Definitely.
And I'm with you on the mid-century. I love mid-century furniture. I just think it's so cool. This particular house can't take a lot of that. I feel like the balance gets off if I add too much mid-century stuff for whatever reason. I'm not formally trained, so I can't give you the reason why. It just feels off if there's too much of that. Versus Andy's apartment in Salt Lake City, which we did pretty much all mid-century, and that's really cool. That's a lot of fun to have all of that, the couch and the chairs and everything be from that era. And he has just a city apartment. So I feel like that city apartment can hold a lot of that. Sleek lines, not a lot of fussiness, that kind of thing. And Blake Hill House needs a little bit more of a balance. Another thing I guess that's really important to me is that most of the things I have are meaningful to us in some way. I don't like to just fill a space. I'd rather have an empty space than to fill it with something that I got from a retailer's dollar spot or something like that. I don't want a lot of stuff that doesn't mean something to me or serve a purpose. I know that's not everybody's way, but that's how I feel about it. How about you? I just don't like a lot of extra stuff, just seasonal off the shelf things. I do have a few things like that, but they feel like when I see them, I think, oh, that would look great. And I want that for a long time, not just for an affiliate link.
Yeah, I think we've both sacrificed tens of dollars in income by not being the type of bloggers / Instagrammers or whatever that buy new stuff all the time. Because that's how a lot of, I don't know if this is commonly known, that's how a lot of blogger people make a fair amount of their money is if you buy something and you are a part of an affiliate program, then you'll use a specific link. And if somebody clicks on it and then buys that product, you get a little kickback. Stacy and I are both bad at that because we don't really buy new things very much. So I certainly feel like I want the stuff in my home to tell a story. I want to know where it came from. I like being able to look around, and even if it's just something I bought at a thrift store or whatever, it was from a specific kind of time and place in my life, and you don't get that when the whole house comes from Walmart or insert other retailer here.
One of my favorite things that we decorate with here are rocks. We have an extensive rock collection. And it sounds really silly, but I have a jar full of rocks that we collected in California for whatever reason. They just were special. Maybe the kids picked them up and said, look at this. And so I just put them in a jar. And then when we moved to New York, we have New York rocks. And that includes rocks from the Great Lakes that are close to here. Not a ton, just things that are truly catch our eye and are special. And then we spent some time on Lake Superior 2 summers in a row. And basically the entire activity was rock hounding. I put them in little bowls and just set them out, and they just make me happy. They're just rocks, but they make me happy.
I have rocks too from travels. I couldn't figure out what to do with them for a long time. So I put them on top of like the dirt on a houseplant and then kind of.
Oh, nice.
So I covered it with pea gravel and then threw in these other rocks that I've collected and,
I have some big ones from Lake Superior too that I've used as bookends. I just stick some books in between them.
There you go. Yeah. So I think we're on the same page. If you love it and it reflects your style and, I don't know, feels right, go for it. Maybe part of this question, I'm not sure exactly what Richard was intending to hear. So I guess I would also note that Facebook Marketplace is a really good resource these days for buying antiques. I have a just search that literally is just antique and I see what comes up. Auctions. I was really afraid of auctions for a long time. They are so much fun and just a really weird, fun way to spend an evening or whatever. And you can get really good stuff. I find that, at least in this region, there seems to be a very little market for large, heavy antique wood furniture. So you can usually buy stuff for really, really cheap just because no one else seems to want it.
Estate sales are pretty common here and a good way to find some interesting things.
I love an estate sale. Going through those drawers. Ooh.
Well, I think we answered it. And when I look at this question from Richard, I think he was truly just asking, what do we do? So we're just telling him what we do.
That's what we do.
That's what we do. All right. We need to take another quick break, Daniel.
All right. Thank you for that question, Richard.
Definitely. And if anybody else out there has a question for us, you can submit it through the contact page on truetalesfromoldhouses.com. And if it's too technical for us to answer, we will try to find a pro to help us answer it. Thank you. True Tales from Old Houses is supported by Sutherland Wells. All of the Sutherland Wells products are handcrafted in Providence, Rhode Island, with the highest quality, sustainably grown tung oil. Tung oil, which is native to China, has been used for centuries as a durable finish for wood, metal, and stone.
Unlike polyurethane, tung oil finish penetrates the surface of the wood, so it flexes and contracts as conditions change, which makes it the perfect pre-finish or protectant for everything from fine furniture to window sash and sills.
Sutherland Wells has an entire product line for whatever you're working on right now: siding, hardwood floors, furniture restoration, cutting boards, you name it. And they are constantly at work on new products, and they will have 2 to release very soon. And I can't wait to tell you more about those.
Ooh, insider information.
I have it.
To learn more about the complete product line, visit Sutherland Wells, that's WELLES, sutherlandwells.com. And to save 10% on your first order, use coupon code TRUETALES. True Tales from Old Houses is also supported by Abitron, which is now a division of UC Coatings.
Abitron manufactures 2 of my very favorite products on the planet. Tell the people what they are, Daniel.
Oh, do you mean liquid wood and wood epox?
I do. And I have talked at length about both of them on Instagram and my blog because I love them so much. Liquid wood and wood epox make permanent, cost-effective repairs wherever you find rotted or damaged wood. And whether you are a first-timer or a professional tradesperson, Abitron products are super easy to use. The instructions are simple and the results are exceptional. There's no shrinking or sagging, and the repairs can be sanded and painted just like wood.
And in addition to wood repair, Abitron also offers other great products for old homes, specifically for concrete repair, plaster repair, window glazing, and more.
Check out their website at abitron.com or follow them on Instagram at abitron_UC or on Facebook at Abitron, a division of UC Coatings.
And from now until June 16th, Abitron has a special coupon code just for True Tales from Old Houses listeners. Enter window 10 at abitron.com for 10% off of your order. That's window 10 to save 10% on your order at abitron.com.
Our guest today is preservation legend Bob Yapp. This conversation is the second half of a 2-part interview. Part 1 dropped on May 22nd, and it's available wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts and on the True Tales from Old Houses website.
It's a great interview. I love talking to Bob. As a reminder, Bob hosted a syndicated radio show for years and a PBS television show you may recall called About Your House. Bob currently teaches at the school he founded in Hannibal, Missouri, the Belvedere School for Hands-on Preservation.
Hi, my name is Bob Yapp. I am the founder of the Belvedere School for Hands-on Preservation in Hannibal, Missouri.
Hi, Bob.
There's Stacy.
Welcome back. Welcome back to the show. Good to see you.
Hi, Daniel. This is like twice in a couple of weeks. I'm amazed.
Yes, this is part 2. So if you, as a listener, are just joining us for this episode, be sure and go back to the previous episode, part 1. You will not want to miss that interview with Bob. But we have kind of an interesting topic today. Last episode, we went really into your history, your TV show, how you feel about preservation, how you feel about stewardship of old homes. But this is a little bit different and maybe kind of a touchy subject for some people.
Well, for me.
For you. All right. Well, we should probably give some backstory.
Yeah. So about 2018, we had across the street from the school and our inn, which is our 1859, 8,000 square foot Italianate mansion overlooking the Mississippi River with a belvedere on the top.
Oh, this is all coming together now.
Does everyone understand? I'm not sure that a belvedere is a room that juts out of the center of early Italianate roofs that has windows, and belvedere means beautiful view in Italian.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Some people call them cupolas and things like that, but it's actually
I knew what it was. I never knew the translation. Cool.
Yeah, isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Our place is on a corner. The place across the street was a corner house, and it was a 0 lot line on all 4 sides. all of the structures in Hannibal up till 1865, especially the brick structures, were built by enslaved crews. Hannibal was entirely a Confederate town. Over 30% of its population were enslaved up until 1865. Our research is starting to show that there was an enslaved man that was owned by the guy that had this house built by him, and his name was Henry, and he had crews. And the craftsmanship is just drop dead. The brickwork, everything is just beyond your imagination, how well it was built by Henry and his crews. We think it was Henry, but for the sake of discussion, we'll just say it's Henry.
And this is your bed and breakfast?
Yes, this is our place.
Okay.
And a religious order wanted to build a church across the street, and they were anti-slavery, so they refused to use the slave crews. And it was built so badly that it's 3 bricks thick. It was 3 bricks thick, 2 stories. The outer layer of brick had delaminated from the center, from the foundation to the roof, 12 inches. On the outside, the inside layer of brick had delaminated 6 inches from the foundation to the roof, from the center. So I bought it to restore it. I mean, what it was a slum apartment building, and 20 people would sit out on the stoop and F-bomb and C-bomb and N-bomb and throw beer cans at our bed and breakfast. So it was probably a smart thing to buy it, but I fully intended to restore it.
So you bought this building.
And we started to do restoration.
What was your thought? What were you going to do with the building?
Well, we were going to make it the annex for the school.
Okay.
And, perfect, right across the street. Students want a live laboratory to work on real things. They don't want to just sit in a classroom and be lectured to all day long. They want to get their hands dirty and do the work. That's how they learn. So we started doing a few window classes over there, and then I started doing the structural inspections and engineering and all that stuff, and we discovered this delamination. So I get 3 of my Midwest masonry companies to come in and look at it. And the best bid I got to repair the masonry issue was $650,000 before we started rehabbing it. And that was building a superstructure on the inside out of framing and taking all the exterior walls down and rebuilding them again.
Right.
And then another $350,000 to rehab it. So I'm at about $1 million. And I could have sold the place for $375,000.
Right. Yeah. This is a Midwestern town.
Yeah. So, it's not a big city. It's not like Chicago. It's not like San Francisco where I used to live. It's a whole different animal. So for 3 months, I am stressing. I have been accused of not being willing to tear down an outhouse. I have laid down in my early years in front of bulldozers. I've been to city halls, stopping demos, everything I can do, everything that we can do as a movement to stop them. And what I've learned is that sometimes you can't stop them. Sometimes, this house, the economics of it would never be right here. And I don't want to go completely bankrupt just to save a house. I've lost a little money on a few houses. I've made some money on others. I've made a fair profit as a historic property developer. I've never gone for like 20, 30% profit like home builders do, but I've made a living doing this. But this would have just tanked us. And so I made a decision that we needed to take it down. And that decision was one of the most gut-wrenching things I've ever done in my life. Because, I'm a hardcore preservationist in every way that you can think of. So once the decision was made, we started deconstructing the house. This is before the actual demolition. We took out every random width white pine plank on the floors. We took out every piece of 6-inch wide Italianate molding, massive moldings. We took out every original door, every transom, every window. And not only did the windows have sash weights, they didn't have pulleys. They had glass sash pulleys.
I saw those on Facebook. They don't actually rotate. It just takes away the friction of the rope.
It's like a little cast ramp that goes inside the jam, and you see a little button and the rope goes in the hole, and then they just operate like glass, right? So
coolest thing.
132 of those. We saved every single window and everything. 3 months of deconstructing and squirreling away all the materials. Then we had to look at the neighborhood and what are we going to do with this lot? I wanted to do a historic looking infill house because, having vacant lots is like having missing teeth, and it just makes it really, a place for garbage, and it doesn't do anybody any good. In the past, been involved with other people moving houses from similar neighborhoods into same period neighborhoods. That just wasn't an option here. I looked at the National Register nomination, which was done back in the 1980s, and it showed a bunch of different Gothic revivals. But yet there are no Gothic revivals left. They've all been torn down. And I thought, okay, we have lots of Italianate Second Empires. We have we have international style houses, arts and crafts era houses, showing that whole progression of how the architecture moved along. But there wasn't a single Gothic revival left. So I decided to do what I call a steamboat Gothic, Carpenter Gothic.
Where did these terms come from?
Well, steamboat, because we're on the Mississippi River. You can just blame me for that. But Carpenter Gothic was a style of Gothic that was very vertical and usually had board and batten siding, and then lots of gable trim that was very scrolly and that kind of thing. So that's what we're building.
Ooh,
the
pretty.
main roof on this house has a 2012 pitch.
Very steep, yes.
I
Very
hope
steep,
it's
right.
metal so it doesn't have to be replaced too soon.
Well, I think the shingles will last a long time. The water gets off so fast. And so I looked at some different stock plans that were out there, and I worked with a local architect, Martin Meyer, who is just a wonderful guy, great architect here. And his brother had River City Restoration here in Hannibal, who restored Lincoln's home in Springfield, Illinois. So Hannibal has a nice history of preservation folks that have been around. Part of the reason that we picked it as well, because I knew some people here. So we picked this design, and Martin helped me tweak it, and we got it exactly as we wanted. So we're getting a little bit of best of both worlds. I mean, we're doing 2x6 construction on the exterior walls so we can insulate it, which in old houses, I've never insulated a frame house in my life because I keep the original plaster. And when you blow insulation into the side walls, it can trap moisture and cause all kinds of problems. So, we try to stop all the massive air infiltration instead. Here, I'm going to be able to super insulate everything. And people, it's so interesting to me that the community is so enamored with this house. And we just got the Lancet pointed top Gothic windows on the second floor of the jams up there. And it just changed everything. Because for a long time, we used black felt tar paper instead of Tyvek. Tyvek is garbage. If Tyvek's out in the sunlight for 3 or 4 weeks, the warranty's void.
Really?
And it just starts to disintegrate. Whereas I pull off siding off of houses built in 1865 with tar paper felt underneath them, and it's still good. So that's what we use. I can't get away from some traditional materials. So it's sort of black. And everybody there is, oh, you're building a house with no windows. I'm like, just calm down. We're building the jams in-house. And then we're taking the windows that we pulled out. We're using all the old wavy cylinder glass. Then we're going to take all the old growth wood and we're going to tweak the old window sashes to fit into the new openings. And then wooden storms. And we make a wooden storm window that has removable glass and screen from inside the house. Mm-hmm. So you don't have to get up and down on a ladder from the outside every year. And they'll be more energy efficient than a double pane window. The storm protects the primary window sash. It'll be snug and cozy and highly insulated, but it'll have random width pine floors that from 1845. It'll have the 1845 Italianate looking trim on all the 4-panel doors and the walnut newel post. And I'm feeling a little better. 3 months after I made this decision, I had a widowmaker heart attack.
Oh, goodness.
And I was, according to my cardiologist, like 5 minutes away from not being revivable. And I'm like, wow. Maybe I had that heart attack because I was stressing out so bad about tearing a house down. But I don't know if that's true.
Oh, I'm so glad you're here.
Yeah, me too. And I feel better than I have in a couple of years. So I think, and they put stents in and all that kind of stuff. I'm doing great. My health is better than it's been in a few years, and I'm rock and rolling. So.
They did a respectful rehab on your heart.
Yes, they did. They did. Really good surgeons and all that stuff. So, yeah.
Good.
It's funny. I don't have high blood pressure. I don't have all the cholesterol. I don't have diabetes. I don't have any of that stuff. But it's hereditary. And then maybe the cigar I smoke every once in a while might be contributing to it. I'm not convinced.
Nah.
I'll never tell.
I have what's maybe an overly technical question, but I'm very curious.
Sure.
With using these older components, do you run into issues with the local building department and stuff, things not being to code?
No, because I can show them what the U value is on these windows because the Window Preservation Collaborative that I belong to we've been studying the energy efficiency of windows for a long time. Plus, we live in a small town. And Missouri is the only state in the union without a statewide building code.
Is it really?
There are little towns that are still running off the old Boca codes from the 1970s,
Wow.
But we have modern codes here, but they're working with me.
What's a Boca code?
It was an old building code from way back. And that's the acronym for it. I don't remember building something.
Okay, that's all right. Just curious.
Yeah. So most of the lumber that they build new houses with is southern yellow pine, and it's just garbage. It's cut down when it's 12 to 14 years old. It's not old growth. So all of the wood that we used to build the structure, and I had a Amish crew come in and frame it for me, I sourced 60 years and older Doug fir, brand new, but it's all Douglas fir, which is stronger and more rot resistant, and it's older growth. And, and I oversized all the joists because I would rather overbuild something and know that, like my father said, do good work that lasts so people can enjoy it for years to come, right? And so that's the approach that I'm taking here. Now, the kitchen for this, I'm making out of the floor joists from the building. So there are these wonderful old northern white pine that was floated down in log rafts to Hannibal. And it still has ink stamps from the lumber company from the 1840s that clear cut the Wisconsin and Minnesota, which is awful, but it's kind of what fueled development in this country in so many ways. And so we'll take that and we bandsaw it and we turned it into lumber and we'll make the kitchen. And, I pick up some element like I did here. I made kitchens in a similar way here at the school. And I found an old panel cabinet down in the basement, screwed to a wall, and the joinery techniques looked about the period the house was built. So I used those panels to do the kitchen with. So I always try to find something like that. And then I use cylinder glass in all my glass cabinet doors and that kind of thing. And we don't use granite. Granite is gross. It's the most unsanitary of all the countertop materials. It holds bacteria worse than maple. So we're using
you, Bob.
recycled hard rock maple. Yeah. I mean, if you're into HGTV, you can have granite countertops. It's kind of like having exposed brick, in these commercial buildings. It's so 70s. Get over yourself, right?
Tell us how you really feel, Bob. No, don't, please. No, do. Absolutely.
So doing this house has been very traumatic. And I'm not plugged into a lot of, I have good HVAC, electrical, plumbing subs that I use, but I'm using a different material on the outside. I'm using cement board on the outside. So I've used it on carriage house reproductions. I've used it on standalone structure, never on the historic structure. But I thought, okay, this is a product I know is fireproof because I had a carriage house burned by some kids that was 4 feet away from the main historic house that we built. And because of the cement board, it kept the flames from burning down the main house. Mm. And it holds paint. We know this because it's been around since 1900 for 30, 40, 50 years. So I'm buying a pre-painted cement board, gigantic sheets of it, and we're going to put it up. And then we're doing every 12 inches a Western red cedar. Nice. Batten strip.
Nice.
For that. So, it gives me a chance for the first time on a main house to mix in some things that we know work. But if it hasn't been in the field for 20 years, how do we know if it's going to work or not? So that's why I like the cement board, because it has that kind of track record. It used to be called asbestos slate siding. Now it has fiberglass in it as the binder instead of asbestos. But I like the old asbestos stuff, especially to grind it up and put it in my cereal in the morning, because it's
you don't snort it right up.
Yeah, right.
We can cut this, but I'm just genuinely curious.
It is a joke. Asbestos bad. Hire people that know what they're doing and are certified.
All of that. Keep it wet.
The basement is a walkout in this thing, so it's got 9-foot ceilings. And we roughed in a bathroom down there. So the house has 3 bedrooms, master suite with a walk-in closet and its own bathroom. half bath on the first floor. We roughed in a bathroom down in the basement. Somebody wanted to do a mother-in-law apartment or just, a couple of extra bedrooms or just a rec room. That's bonus space for them. And then the garage will also have a steep pitched roof. There'll be like a little loft up there that somebody could turn into a like home office.
So are any of your students helping on this project, or do you have a construction crew that's doing? Are you the general contractor in this case? How's this working?
Yeah, I'm chief cook and bottle washer. And I have 3 full-time apprentices. I have 2 guys and a young woman. Some of them were in my historic preservation trades program at the high school here that I ran for years. That was a program where we took kids that had dropped out, at-risk kids that had no chance of graduating. We put them into the program. We graduated 160 kids in 6 years that would have never graduated from high school, half girls, half boys. I just helped set up a trade school in Cincinnati, Ohio, and actually in Covington, Kentucky, but the Cincinnati area. And we're targeting women of color, Latinas, folks, Asian immigrants. We have interpreters. We have transportation, daycare set up so that we can start training people that traditionally wouldn't get a foot in to do things. So students on this house will do some storm windows for us because they need to make storm windows, and what better place to do it than some places right across the street. So students have helped with a lot of this. The big house would, the business model didn't work for the school if students didn't work on it because it would have been just too expensive. 8,000 square feet. And sometimes I have to go back and fix stuff students do. That's why they call them classes, right?
What are the next steps for the school and for this house and the bed and breakfast?
Well, the house is for sale as a single family home.
The house you're building?
Yes, $395,000. I think it'll sell. We have a lot of interest. I prefer not to sell it too far in advance because not that I don't like customers. I just prefer to get them done. And if you like it, buy it. If you don't buy it, right?
Of course.
But we just bought an 1855 Greek revival overlooking the river, a block and a half from here. That will be the new annex headquarters for the school. And we're really excited about that. It has an 8-car carriage house out back, which will be just perfect for the shop and the classrooms and stuff like that. So yeah, lots of stuff going on.
As you're talking about this project, the house across the street, you don't sound like you're having a bad time with it. Are there elements of new construction that you're finding fun or interesting or new, at least?
I was just grateful when it got framed and sheathed on the outside, because then I could pretend I was like doing a house that had been gutted by the rain or something. I'm such an old house guy that there are elements of this that, yes, I'm having fun. It's a new experience for me. I built carriage houses, like I said, but not a single family standalone home with a detached carriage house. I am having fun doing it. It's frustrating because you'd think that there would be lots of people that could come in and do a lot of these new construction things, but maybe I'm just too exacting in what I expect. I expect people to do high quality work because I do high quality work. And I that's how, I have 3 apprentices, and part of this is teaching them the quality standard at the end, but it's also teaching them the process of how you get there efficiently without cutting corners. And they're all doing great. So.
Well, I would say Daniel and I support that. We have some of the same tendencies. Would you agree, Daniel?
We have challenges with our contractors sometimes when we hire contractors because
we all do.
It's just not quite what we would do. And yeah, but I've done exactly one new construction project, and interesting. I found it had all the frustrations of a rehab and not much of the fun.
There's a little bit of that for me too, but we're doing something good for the neighborhood. We're showing people what the possibilities are. This is a slumlord decimated area. Since Pat and I came in 2008 and saved this house from the wrecking ball, the snowball effect has really taken a hold, where it's getting bigger as it goes downhill. And we're getting more people coming into town and appreciating what we have and starting to rehab stuff. And that's what great. I love to see.
Yeah. So encouraging. That's great.
It is. Now, I don't want anybody to hear this interview and use it as an excuse. Well, Bob Yapp tore down a house, so I can too. And I just wondered, do you have a response for that?
Oh, let's see. I've been involved in exactly 164 ground up rehabs of endangered houses. If anybody thinks I'm endorsing tearing houses down, they're smoking their socks because I'm not. We have to try to save them. But if something is going to come down and we can't stop it, and I couldn't save this house, if I can't save it, who can? A lot of my colleagues have said, Bob, quit sweating it. Nobody is going to give you a hard time about this because they know your character. They know what you've done in your life. But tearing down houses is wrong, and we need to try to save them. But if they come down, we have a responsibility to deconstruct them so that all of that embodied energy, that was all the pollution that was spent on the sawmills when the wood was cut, all of the pollution that was used for the coal or the wood to fire the kiln, to make the bricks, to do all those different things, all of that pollution is already spent. All that embodied energy is already there. And to throw that all away is really the criminal act, beyond even the criminal act of just wantonly tearing things down because you don't like them. I liked this house. I thought it was very cool. And I was just devastated. So does that get the point across? I hope.
So. It does. It does. Absolutely.
On the deconstructing aspect, which I absolutely love and think is exactly what you should have done. So thank you. Do you feel like that's true if it's a house from like the 90s coming down? I mean, the quality of those materials is not the same. But
well, I think there are some materials that we ought to be saving. Why send everything to the landfill? If you look at the garbology study that was done at University of Arizona in Tucson, there was a graduate professor named Rathje, and I think he may have retired by now, but he had a program called the Garbology Study. He'd take students all over the country and they core drill landfills. And, wow. He's like, what do you think we're going to find? Well, diapers and plastic, all this kind of, and it was like almost half of our landfills are filled with construction demolition debris. That's just a catastrophe, an environmental nightmare. So,
right. Am I hearing, whose dog am I hearing? Is that yours, Bob?
That's my 7-month-old golden retriever named Gus.
Gus.
He likes Western red cedar, and I had reproduced the original porches out of Western red cedar. He's been gnawing on my newel post. So.
Gus, no. It's because he knows you can fix it.
Well, Gus sounds like a big advocate of preservation too, because as you were talking, he was just getting more and more into it. So,
oh, he's so into it. He's a shop dog all the way. So
that's great. Well, I just have one more question for you, and then we need to wrap up for this part 2 as well. But I'm just wondering, what would you like your legacy to be?
That I left it better than it was when I came into this world. Honestly, if I could just, and I do feel this way, that if I can leave the world a little better, just a touch better than it was than when I came into it, then that's a life well spent, I think. And that's a good question. You start to think about that a little bit more when you get older. I'm 66. I'm not that old.
No, not old at all.
That's what I want to leave.
I think you've done that.
I think we have a lot to learn from you.
Thank you. I learn from students and young people every single day. I get up in the morning, I look in the mirror, and I go, boy, are you a dummy. You have a lot to learn today. So.
Affirmations.
Yeah, right. Like on Saturday Night Live, right?
Yeah. All right. Well, Bob, again, it's just been a pleasure. And thank you so much for 2 interviews.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. And make sure everybody, don't tear houses down.
Yeah.
Or you'll have a heart attack.
That's the take home. Don't tear a house down or you'll have a heart attack.
I did the right thing, but I had a heart attack over it. So.
Well, I do hope to visit you in Hannibal at some point. I had really hoped that it would be sooner versus later, but I just never managed to work in a trip. And so I'll be there. My mother still lives in Missouri. I'll be there.
Well, we're an hour and 20 minutes north of St. Louis. I encourage everyone to come to Hannibal. It is a funky river town. The downtown historic areas are filled with fun, interesting shops and people and artists, and we love it.
Well, thanks again.
Thank you so much, Bob. What a pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks, Stacy. Thanks, Daniel.
Thank you for listening to True Tales from Old Houses, and thank you to our guest today, Bob Yapp.
To continue the conversation, please join us over on Facebook and Instagram at True Tales from Old Houses. You can follow Stacy at Blake Hill House or myself at Daniel Cantor.
And to learn more about everything we discussed in today's episode or to request a transcript, visit truetalesfromoldhouses.com. Until next time.
Bye-bye, everyone.